Hello, dear viewers. Today we invite you on a fascinating journey into space, not only into its vast expanses, but also into the world of questions that may seem even a little daring. The topic of our today's video is, was there sex in space? It's a mysterious and fascinating discussion about whether intimate relationships existed in the conditions of global outer space. We often hear about space missions, scientific research, and technological advances, but in the popular imagination, few people think about more personal aspects such as feelings and intimate relationships. After all, let's say astronauts spend long months in orbit away from home and loved ones. What emotions and feelings do they experience with them? That question is our key topic today. Get ready for incredible discoveries and interesting facts. Let's start with the fact that space missions of the early decades were very strictly organized and subjected to severe restrictions. Every detail was thought out, including the personal spaces of the astronauts. Intersexual relations were naturally not at the forefront. The first space flights, such as Yuri Gagarin's flight and the American Mercury missions, were primarily scientific and technical achievements. However, over time, speculation and opinions about the evolution of attitudes towards the intimate side of astronauts' lives have emerged. With the development of long-term missions, such as those on the International Space Station, discussions began about how emotions and relationships might have affected crew performance. Some experts speculate that some astronauts may have experienced feelings of attachment to each other in isolation. This, however, remains more of an assumption than a documented fact. Let's clarify some facts and separate them from fictional stories related to sex in space. Scientific organizations like NASA and Roscosmos strictly controlled all aspects of space missions, and intimacy was not part of their programs. Each mission had strict schedules and procedures focused on scientific and technical tasks. Nevertheless, as the internet has evolved and information has spread, various legends and speculations have emerged that have contributed to the perception of sex in space. One such legend is the story of a pair of astronauts who allegedly had an intimate time in a spaceship. However, this story has never been confirmed by official sources and remains more of an anecdote than a real event. Other legends and speculation may stem from a lack of understanding of the realities of space missions and the lives of astronauts. It is important to realize that facts and evidence are paramount when discussing such topics. When it comes to sex in space, it is important to discuss ethical and moral issues. As mentioned, scientific organizations strictly control the conditions and behavior of astronauts on space missions. The professional and scientific nature of missions leaves little room for personal relationships and intimacy. Possible problems with the harmonization and confidentiality of such relationships can raise questions and generate debate in the scientific and public communities. Beyond the ethical aspects, it is also worth considering the psychological impact of long-term space missions on human relationships. Long stays in isolation and confined space can affect the psychological well-being of astronauts. Stress, isolation, and limited privacy can create a challenging environment for maintaining healthy relationships, and intimate relationships can introduce additional variables into this equation. However, research shows that the right team and psychological support can help astronauts cope with these challenges. The space environment has its own characteristics that can affect the human body. Radiation, microgravity, and other factors can affect physiological processes. For example, being in weightlessness for long periods of time can cause changes in blood circulation and musculature, which can affect the physical ability to have sexual relations. Biological aspects also include health issues, as sexual acts can affect the immune system and overall health of astronauts. Technical aspects also present challenges to performing sexual acts in space. The enclosed and confined spaces of spacecraft and stations limit privacy and comfort. Lack of gravity can make performing physical acts more difficult. Special adaptations and technical solutions may be required to ensure safety and comfort. Official standards and policies regarding sexual relationships in space usually reflect the norms and rules that apply on Earth. Many space agencies have strict codes of ethics and regulations prohibiting intimate relationships aboard ships and stations. This is not only due to moral considerations, but also due to the technical and psychological aspects we covered earlier. Regarding the personal lives of astronauts, official information is usually limited and controlled. Many astronauts emphasize that during missions, their primary concern is to perform scientific and technical tasks, and personal relationships remain in the background. However, some astronauts recognize that feelings and emotions can arise on long space journeys, and they too are human beings with personal lives. In the future, with advances in space technology and long missions, it is possible that the approach to intimacy in space may be reconsidered. Perhaps with scientific and medical evidence, more flexible and effective strategies will be developed to maintain the psychological and physical health of astronauts. However, such changes will require careful deliberation and acceptance, taking into account multiple factors. The development of intimate relationships in space will depend on a variety of factors. For example, technical innovations may contribute to a more comfortable environment for astronauts, including the possibility of private time. In addition, psychological aspects will play an important role. In long space missions, maintaining the psychological equilibrium of astronauts becomes increasingly important, and intimate relationships may be one aspect of this support. Reflecting on the prospects and future of intimate relationships in space allows for reflection on how the space industry will evolve and adapt to changing conditions, including sociocultural, technical, and psychological aspects. Sex in space is a topic that always attracts a lot of media and public attention. Analyzing the media exposure to this topic allows us to notice how varied the public response is. In some cases, the media approaches the topic with humor and sensationalism, which can lead to incorrect stereotypes and perceptions. However, such discussions can also raise important questions about the psychological and physical well-being of astronauts in space. The influence of the media in shaping public opinion is undoubtedly enormous. Studies show that media discussions of sex in space can affect how the public perceives not only the sexual aspects, but also the space exploration program itself. Media can form stereotypes about astronauts' lives and activities, which in turn can affect funding and support for space programs. In our discussion, we considered various aspects of the issue of the possibility of intimacy in space. We explored the historical, ethical, psychological, and biological aspects of this topic, as well as evaluated the role of media and publicity in shaping public opinion. The issue of sex in space remains complex and multifaceted, and despite the limitations and technical difficulties, it continues to generate interest and debate. I would like to hear your opinions on this topic. Let's continue the dialogue in the comments below. Tell us how you feel about the possibility of intimate relationships in space and what aspects of this topic you think are worth considering. Your impressions and opinions are very important for our overall understanding of this interesting and controversial topic. If you enjoyed this video and want to receive more interesting research and discussions on similar topics, subscribe to our channel. We would love to see you among our subscribers. Also, if you thought this video was useful and interesting, don't forget to give us a like. Your support helps us create content that interests you. Thank you for your attention and participation.